stories around the world to stories here at home. This is the National News Broadcast. A pleasant evening. I'm Lanjali Ananda.
And I am Dishan Veerakone, and here are your headlines for tonight. Addressing the 11th National War Heroes Commemoration Day ceremony, President says he will not hesitate to withdraw the country from any international body or organization that targets the country and war veterans in an unjustifiable manner. Prime Minister says the operations conducted by the security forces were not against the Tamil community but against the LTTE terrorist organization. 2 persons have died from the inclement weather in the country. Several areas have also been affected. A circular to be issued in near future on the conduct of wedding ceremonies. Now in your top story for tonight, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says that he will not hesitate to withdraw Sri Lanka from the membership of any international body or organization that continuously targets the country and the war veterans in an unjustifiable manner. Addressing the 11th National War Heroes Commemoration Day ceremony this evening, the President has assured that under his government, all necessary measures will be taken to protect the dignity of the war heroes of the country. The ceremony was held in a simple and prestigious manner at the War Heroes Memorial in Battaramulla. The commemoration ceremony was held under the patronage of Commander-in-Chief of the Sri Lanka Armed Forces, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and the commanders of the Tri-Forces. The national ceremony was held with the participation of close relatives of the war heroes who sacrificed their lives for their motherland while adhering to the guidelines issued by the health authorities. "23,962 Sri Lanka Army personnel sacrificed their lives for their motherland in the battle against the LTTE terrorism, which was defeated on May 19, 2009. 1,160 Sri Lanka Navy personnel and 443 Sri Lanka Air Force personnel also sacrificed their lives during the battle. Also, 2,598 Sri Lanka police personnel and 456 Civil Defence Corps who sacrificed their lives in the war against the LTTE were remembered during the ceremony with great honour and gratitude. The ceremony was commenced with the recital of the national anthem. A 2-minute silence was observed in the commemoration of the fallen war heroes. Afterwards, all religious observances were carried out under the patronage of the Mahasangha of the Tri-Sects and other religious leaders. A 2-minute silence was observed in the commemoration of the fallen war heroes. Afterwards, all religious observances were carried out under the patronage of the Mahasangha of the Tri-Sect and other religious leaders. The welcome speech of the ceremony was delivered by Chairman of the Ranaviru Seva Authority, retired Major General Chandana Senadira. Addressing the ceremony, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa said that he will commit in transforming the country protected by the sacrifices made by the war heroes to a land of prosperity where every citizen can live with dignity. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa said that May 19th is an important milestone in the history of the country. He said that on May 19, 2009, the country completely defeated the separatist terrorism which had been a nuisance to the country for nearly 30 years. The President said that then President Mahinda Rajapaksa gave the leadership for this battle as the Commander-in-Chief. He added that an environment was created for the people to live without fear and enjoy their human rights after the end of the terror period. He said that after a period of 30 years, they ensured democracy in the country and built a nation where free and fair elections could be held while creating a safe country for people to travel freely without any restrictions to any place of the country. He said that the war heroes and their families made immense sacrifices to bring in peace to the country engulfed in terror. He said that war is not a bed of roses and the war heroes had to face numerous bitter experiences and difficulties when battling one of the most ruthless terrorist organizations in the world which had no regard for law. The President said that the country nourished by Buddhist philosophy possessed a form of administration that is an overseas for all religions and all nationalities. He said that the motive of the extremists was to divide the nation. He added that if they were successful in their attempt, the country's history could have taken a different course. The president said that Sri Lanka could have become a country with divisions among communities, engaged in continuous battles for boundaries. Fear of war is a common norm of life and another hapless and divided country. The president said that the honor of liberating the country from this catastrophe should be given to all heroic troops who fought for the peace in the country for a long time. He said that they remember with immense gratitude all the war heroes, including General Kobba Kaduwa and General Vijay Vimalaratne, who fought for this victory for more than 3 decades and laid their lives for the country. He said that as an officer who was engaged in active service for around 20 years, later as the Secretary of Defense for 10 years, as well as a citizen, he is well aware of the sacrifices made by the war heroes. Therefore, he said that pain of the war is not strange to him. Accordingly, he said that he will not allow any room for attempts to discredit and destroy the dignity of the war heroes who made countless sacrifices to bring peace to entire Sri Lanka. He assured that under his governance, the government will take every measure always to protect the dignity of the heroic war veterans. He said that they would pay the tribute of the nation to all war heroes and their families who contributed to the battle against separatism for 3 decades. He said that he will commit in transforming the country protected by the sacrifices made by the war heroes to a land of prosperity where every citizen can live with dignity. He invited all citizens to make their fullest contribution towards this endeavor.
ඒ සඳහා ඔබේ උපරිම දායකත්වය ලබා දෙන ලෙස සියලුම දේශමාමක පුරවැසියන්ගෙන් රණවිරු ස්මාරකය අභියසදී මා ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා. Even leaders of powerful countries have emphatically stated that they would not allow any action against their war heroes. As such, in a small country like ours, where our war heroes have sacrificed so much, I will not allow anyone or organization to exert undue pressure on them and harass them. If any international body or organization continuously target our country and our war heroes using baseless allegations, I will also not hesitate to withdraw Sri Lanka from such bodies or organizations.
The President and the Prime Minister offered floral tributes to the War Heroes Memorial amid aerial shower of flowers. Former President Maithripala Sirisena, Governor of the Western Province, Marshal of the Air Force Roshan Gunatilaka, Defence Secretary Retired Major General Kamal Gunaratne, commanders of the Tri-Forces, Acting IGP and other special invitees also extended floral tributes to the memorial. The parents, wives, children and other relatives of the fallen war heroes also made floral tributes to the memorial accordingly. In the meantime, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says that the operations conducted by the security forces were not against the Tamil community but against the LTTE terrorist organization. The Prime Minister made these remarks issuing a message marking the National War Heroes Commemoration Day. Due to the defeat of the LTTE, Tamil people are now free to live as they wish. The Prime Minister pointed out that due to the absence of the LTTE, elections can be held in the northern and eastern provinces, and that has safeguarded the sovereign rights of the people of those provinces. The armed forces and police that amazed the entire world by winning what was widely considered to be an unwinnable war are now once again engaged in a joint operation with the state health sector in combating COVID-19. All indications are that Sri Lanka is winning the battle against COVID-19 as well. The frontline role played by the armed forces and police in working with the general public has undoubtedly been of immense help to the health sector in bringing the spread of COVID-19 under control in the present manner. The Prime Minister condemned the attempt taken up by the Yahapalana political parties to create an artificial social dichotomy between military and civilian. Furthermore, the Ranaviru constituency is now an integral part of the Sangha where the Guru Govikam Karu social line-up of former times. Accordingly, the Prime Minister has pointed that whenever they happen to be in power, there will always be former members of the armed forces and police holding various positions in the government.
Marking the 11th National War Heroes Commemoration Day, the nation not only commemorates Sri Lanka's decisive military victory over liberation tigers of Tamil Eelam, but also valor, courage and sacrifices of Sri Lankan soldiers. In achieving this victory following a 30-years-long battle against terrorism in the country, most of the soldiers were wounded and disabled while fulfilling their duty in creating a fear-free and peaceful nation. A soldier's life is no bed of roses. During the course of his duties, a soldier is more exposed to risks in his life or limbs than in any other profession. He is aware of the dangers he would encounter at any time while engaging in humanitarian operations. A loss of a limb or permanent incapacitation could shatter a soldier not only physically but also emotionally. Yet, realizing this fate, a soldier marched ahead into the war front with the sole objective to protect and safeguard the nation from its enemies. With over 21,000 war heroes sustaining injuries in the 3-decade-long war, many were rendered disabled, with over 600 critically disabled, either bedridden or movements confined to wheelchairs. Today, over 300 disabled soldiers are spending the rest of their time under the care of Sri Lanka Army rehabilitation centres and protective homes including Ranaviru Sevana, Abimansala and Mihindu Seth Madura. These war heroes deserve the accolades and the respect of the entire nation for their sacrifices to free the nation engulfed with fear of terrorism posed by LTTE.
Something that changes your life story. Litro Gas.
Meanwhile, 2 deaths have occurred in the Ratnapura area due to the prevailing inclement weather condition. Meanwhile, the Disaster Management Centre stated that many areas have been inundated with the overflowing of the rivers of Kalu, Nilwala and Gangas. The Met Department has said that the cyclone which developed around the Bay of Bengal has transformed into a severe cyclonic system and is gradually moving away from the island. The department has also said that the trajectory of the cyclone is expected to move towards the western coastal area in Bangladesh tomorrow afternoon. Showery weather condition is expected to last in the southwestern parts of the island until the cyclone completely moves away from the country. The meteorological department said that during the next 24 hours, showers or thunder showers exceeding 150 millimeters could be expected at several places in the Nure Elia, Ratnapura, Kagal, Kalutara, Gaul and Mathura districts. Accordingly, areas including Ratnapura city, Ayagama, Kuruvita, Kiriyalla, Galathur have been inundated. Several areas in the Ratnapura Panadura road have also been inundated. A 9-year-old child has succumbed after a part of a house in the Batepula area in Ratnapura had collapsed due to a landslide. Meanwhile, a woman has died after a tree had fallen on a shop in the Lellu-Pitia, Ratnapura area. Also, a mother and a daughter have sustained injuries and admitted to a hospital after an earth mound had collapsed onto their house in the Kahangama, Ratnapura area. 30 people have been evacuated after several houses in the Kuttapitia Palmadula were submerged. Meanwhile, the Disaster Management Centre has said that the water level of the Kalu River has increased to a minor flooding level. The Balangura city has been inundated due to heavy showers. Governor of the Sabaragamuwa province, Tikiriko Bakadu, engaged in an observational tour in the Ayagama area to check on the relief measures carried out in affected areas. The Department of Irrigation has said that the water level of the Kaluganga and its connected rivers is reportedly rising as a result of heavy rains experienced in the areas. Due to this, flood situation may erupt in low levels of the Ratnapura, Kuruvita, Ayagama, Kiriyala, Alapatha Divisional Secretariat divisional areas. Department has also requested the public in these areas to be vigilant over the intense floods if the prevailing heavy rainy weather situation persists further. With the rising water level of the Kaluganga, suburban low levels and by roads have also been inundated. Transportation in the areas was interrupted for several hours as a huge tree uprooted by strong winds in front of the Ratnapura court complex. The high-tension power lines in the area were also damaged due to this incident. The wire bridge across the Bamarabotu River connecting the Gallala and Ovala areas was affected by the flood waters in this manner. Meanwhile, 575 persons belonging to 180 families have been displaced in Gaul district due to the inclement weather condition prevailing in the area. Many houses in Katuvana, Siara, Pitiya, Hambantutta have been damaged due to heavy winds. Also, the vehicular movement was hindered along the Katuvana Uruboka road as a huge tree was uprooted by strong winds. Meanwhile, spill gates of the Norton Bridge and Vimala Surendra reservoirs have been opened due to heavy showers. Also, 2 sluice gates in the Lakshapana reservoir were also opened accordingly. 14 estate worker homes in the Bhagavan Talawa area have been inundated with the increasing of the water levels in the Kessel Gamua Oya. The vehicular movement in the Hatton-Colombo main road was disrupted this morning after an earth mound had collapsed on the road. Meanwhile, 25 houses in the Wattavala city were inundated following the overflowing of the Hatton Oya. Also, more than 80 families in the Ginigattena division have been displaced due to the inclement weather condition in the area.
Minister of Health Pavitra Vanyarachi, addressing the 73rd World Health Summit, briefed the global health ministers over the immense progress achieved by the health sector in the country since previous summit in 2019. The 73rd Summit of the World Health Organization was conducted as an online summit due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The summit was held on May 18th and 19th. Health ministers and other officials representing 194 countries took part in the 73rd Online World Health Summit. Minister of Health Pavitra Vanyarachi addressed the 73rd World Health Summit from the office of the resident representative of the World Health Organization to Sri Lanka through a video technology last evening. Director General of the Health Services Dr. Anil Jayasinghe, Additional Secretary to the Ministry of Health Dr. Lakshmi Somatunga and other officials of the Health Minister was present at this occasion.
Could we kindly ask the Minister of Sri Lanka to deliver his statement? Honourable Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you. At the outset, on behalf of the Government of Sri Lanka, let me appreciate the leadership of Dr. Tedros, Director General of WHO, for excellent guidance provided during this challenging time of COVID-19 pandemic. I would like to emphasize about present pandemic of COVID-19. While giving focused attention on controlling COVID-19, we are determined to provide our continued care for other diseases, ensuring smooth conduct of healthcare services in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is committed to share our experience always and learn from best practices to save lives and finally to control the pandemic together with the global community. Thank you.
Another 10 COVID-19 patients have recovered from the disease and discharged from hospitals in the past 24 hours. Meanwhile, 28 new COVID-19 infected patients were identified from Oluville Quarantine Center this evening. All identified COVID-19 infected patients are members of the security forces. So far, 442 infected patients are receiving treatments in hospitals, while 569 patients have recovered from the disease thus far. Percentage of the recovered patients in the country currently stands at 55%. Meanwhile, percentage of the COVID-19 patients presently receiving treatments in hospitals stands at 43%. The death percentage of the country is at 0.88% at present. 10 COVID-19 patients whom were detected yesterday have been identified as security forces members. Another patient at the returnee from Singapore was identified from the quarantine center yesterday. A group of 23 persons directed to Kalpitia Quarantine Center left the center after successfully completing the quarantine process yesterday. Family members of infected security force members were also in the group. They have been directed to serve quarantine process upon returning to their respective residences. Another group of 98 directed to the Sri Lanka Air Force Palali Quarantine Center left the center after successfully completing the quarantine process today. They were directed to the quarantine process after detecting COVID-19 infected patients from Sir Bandaranaike Mouth in Colombo. The Sri Lanka Army has indicated that a total of 9,704 persons have left the quarantine centers maintained by the tri-forces after successfully completing the quarantine process. 35 intensive care unit beds donated by Australia were handed over to Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa today. A robot equipped with the latest camera technology to examine COVID-19 patients were presented to Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa today. This innovation has been created by a student, Bhatia Kalupahana, under the supervision and approval of the National Research Council. The self-protective mobile phone software designed by Professor Chandana Jayaratna on the recommendations of the National Research Council was handed over to the Prime Minister today. The Prime Minister instructed to provide the software to the public on free of charge through the Ministry of Health. The ninth phase of returning people who have stranded in Colombo due to the curfew back to their villages was carried out today. The ninth phase of returning people who have stranded in Colombo due to the curfew back to their villages was carried out today.
Now, Deputy Director of the Disaster Management Centre, Pradeep Kodipili, made these remarks over the prevailing inclement weather condition in the country.
193 rainfall been observed in Ratnapura and surrounding area as per the Met Department. So there are a lot of rain poured since in the morning. We have alerted all the communities beside the rivers and the risk areas of the mountainous hilly areas. And two deaths been reported in Ratnapura district due to the earth slip as well as rock falling. And still we are advising all the communities, 117 call center number is completely open for the disaster management activities as well as the other all coordinating activities as well. So the water levels still are increasing in Kaluganga and some areas of Mahaluganga, Mahaveliganga and Navalapitiya and the Ginganga and the Nilwalanganga. So people are living beside these rivers has to be very vigilant with that situation. So we will remind again the people who are living at Tawalama, Baddegama at Ginganga and Ratnapura and downstreams at Kaluganga, all the area and the Holombu and Norwood area of Kalaniganga and Pitabaddara, Urawa and Panudugam area of Nilwalaganga and Navalapitiya at Mahaveliganga. So they need to be very vigilant with that situation as the rising water levels been observed by the irrigation department and the National Building and Research Organization and the Met Department. They are coping on 24/7 basis with the Disaster Management Center and providing the technical information, and especially the red warnings been issued again reminding to the communities Ayagama, Ratnapura, Alapata, Kalawana and Kiriyal in Ratnapura district. They need to act with the instructions of the NBRO as well as the district disaster management unit at the ground level. So it's very important to act and react as per the instructions.
Now, in more local stories, Minister Mahinda Amaravira says that the bus services have been permitted for the inter-provincial movement in other remaining areas except for the high-risk and risk zones from tomorrow. The decision was reached during a meeting held at the Transport Services Management Ministry today over the managing of public transport services. The public transport services have been commenced for the workers of the public and private sectors to arrive for employment purposes thus far. a decision was reached to allow the public transport services to admit all workers of the public and private sectors into their respective transport services without prior bookings. However, they will be required to produce their employment identity card prior to admission. Transportation of commuters according to the number of seating facilities, wearing face masks and keeping disinfectants inside the buses will be compulsory for all bus services.
Deputy Director General of Public Health Services, Dr. Paba Palihavadana, says that a circular included with relevant information on the conduct of wedding ceremonies expected to be issued in near future. She said that each wedding ceremony should comprise of less than 100 participants. Addressing a media briefing held in Colombo today, she said that the wedding ceremonies should be conducted adhering to necessary health instructions. Deputy Director General of Public Health Services, Dr. Paba Palihavadana, said that each wedding ceremony should comprise of less than 100 participants. She said that the wedding halls where the weddings will be organized should be twice the size of the invited participants. She said that physical distancing should be maintained at all times. She further added that health instructions should also be printed on invitation cards. She warned that if an invitee shows any mild symptoms for the disease, such persons should refrain from taking part in the wedding. She said that all participants of the wedding ceremonies should adhere to necessary health instructions.
In the meantime, the Defence Ministry urged the public not to be misled by certain posts circulating on social media platforms regarding threats posed in Sri Lanka by extremist elements. Defence Secretary retired Major General Kamal Gunaratne reiterated that the national security of the country had not been overlooked while deploying security forces and police personnel to contain the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. Defence Secretary said all intelligence agencies which were brought under one network under President Rajapaksa's government had been fully strengthened to be alerted on internal and external security threats. He said there was a required number of military and police personnel to be deployed to support the government's efforts in controlling the spread of the virus while maintaining the national security. He has said that the Sri Lanka Navy, which has been affected with its sailors infected with the coronavirus while fighting to control its spread, is fully engaged in nabbing drug traffickers operating locally and internationally. He said that the military and police is also engaged in controlling organized crimes and dealing with any other forms of terrorism.
Former Minister Mangala Samaravira was questioned by the Criminal Investigation Department for the second day today. He appeared before the CID in accordance to a summons issued by the department. He appeared before the CID to record a statement over allegations of misuse of state property during the presidential elections. The former minister left the CID premises this noon after being questioned for nearly 5 hours. It is alleged that he had used several Sri Lanka Transport Board buses to transport voters from Puttlam to Mannar during the 2019 presidential election when he was the Minister of Finance at the time.
And that's a wrap of tonight's Primetime News. Until we meet again next time, do take care, stay safe and good night.
Good night.